Okay, looks like we are live once again. Let me see if I can get on. It looks like I'm not being able to get on X live, which is interesting. Here, let me see if I can switch this real quick. Apologize. For some technical difficulties. Am I live on X? Oh, okay, I am. My bad. I apologize, everyone. Sorry, I thought I was messing something up here, but looks like we're good. All right, so we're live on YouTube, on X, on Facebook. Welcome. As always, we do these live streams, try to do them on the off days. It's an off day. Noah Hiles here from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, coming to you live on the Post-Gazette Pirates YouTube channel, talking some baseball here. Pirates coming back home from a 6-game road trip out west. They win 3, they lose 3, they win a series against the Angels, lose a series against the Dodgers. They return home with a record of 11-18 overall, last place in the National League Central, and they will kick off a 6-game homestand with a 3-game series against the first place team in the NL Central, the Chicago Cubs, tomorrow. So a lot to talk about. If you want to take part in the conversation, comment below. I will try my best to get to all the comments, questions, topics that you would like to hear me cover here in the next 20, 30 minutes. Never put a cap as far as time is concerned on these things, but we like to have fun. We like to talk some baseball. So join in on the fun, comment, talk to me, tell me what you want to hear about here. So Pirates, like I said, off today, coming back from a West Coast trip where they went 3-3. Got a series win over the Angels, lost their 3-game set this past weekend against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium, 11-18 overall. So we'll just dive into some topics here as we wait for more people to join in on the conversation. Well, actually, this is a funny place to start. Blake wants to know thoughts on the pitching matchups versus the Cubs. We don't have them right now, Blake. I know you can see speculated matchups here for the Pirates' upcoming series against the Cubs, but they don't have anything like released officially from the team yet. And that's maybe we can start there. Actually, I like that, Blake. So the Pirates rotation, looking at it, not just for this upcoming series, but where it currently stands. It seems like we're reaching a point in the season where there are going to be some changes. Simply because you look at the timeline for some of these guys they have in the minor leagues, you look at the results they're getting from some of these guys in the major leagues, and it feels like we have reached a point where the sample sizes are big enough to reach a conclusion. Maybe not a permanent conclusion, but a conclusion for one season to note, hey, it's time to switch things up. So obviously, Skenes is going to pitch. He should pitch twice this homestand, if I'm not mistaken, depending on how they schedule this. Keller will pitch this homestand. I mean, everyone will pitch this homestand, but in this series, you would think that it would line up where it would be Skenes and Keller getting some run here because neither of them pitched in – or no, wait, they both pitched in Los Angeles. Sorry. This is why I don't try to speculate. But nonetheless, the point I'm trying to get at is there are going to be some changes in this rotation, and it's not with the names I mentioned, with Skenes, Keller, and Heaney, but with the other two, Bailey Falter and Carmen Mlodzinski. Let's talk about their future in this starting rotation. So the guy everyone's clamoring for is Bubba Chandler. I'm not coming to you live here to say that Bubba's going to make his big league debut sometime this week, this homestand. I don't know if that's the case. I don't think it will be, but I wouldn't completely write it off. But the point is, I think that we're going to see him sometime this month. I think that might be a safe guess on my end. Again, this is going just based off of some conversations I've had, and more importantly, just reading the tea leaves a little bit here. So if you look at Chandler's build up so far, he's had 5 starts. He's gone 1-0 with a 1.33 ERA. He's thrown 20 and a third innings. His max pitch count is 70. Ben Cherington talked earlier this month, I believe it was a couple weeks ago, how they're trying to kind of build up his volume in a similar way to what they did with Skenes last year. He wasn't comparing the two directly, nor should he, but he said that there are some similarities in the approach that they're taking, because the idea is they want to get him to be able to check all the boxes that they need to see him check in this remaining time he has in AAA, but they want him to do it with the lightest workload possible. That way, when he gets to the major leagues, they can get the most usage out of him. Like with Paul last year, he threw 100, I believe 60 innings total in the major, or all season, and 133 of them, I believe, were in the major leagues. They would want that to probably be similar to with Chandler this year. They would like for Bubba to have a similar trajectory here. So based off of where he's currently at right now, 5 starts, 20 and a third innings pitched, if this is going to continue to trend in a similar pace of which Skenes trended, this would indicate that Bubba's less than a month away. And again, this isn't like an official report, but just going off of their buildups, Paul made 7 starts in AAA in 2024. His highest pitch count was 75. His max innings was 6. And his final AAA start was May 5th. So May 5th would be Monday. I believe Chandler's on schedule to pitch Wednesday. I believe that's when his next outing is scheduled, which would mean he would pitch his 6th start on Wednesday, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7th start on Monday. So if we're following that timeline, that's almost identical to what Paul has been on. So I don't know. I think Bubba's coming sometime in May, just based off of that track. Now, I think that there are probably a couple more boxes he needs to check other than just volume, where it was pretty clear throughout Paul's buildup that once he was stretched out far enough, he was going to be a big leaguer. There was no doubt at all that he was ready. And I think Chandler's in a very similar boat. It's just he hasn't been as dominant as Skenes. He's been dominant nonetheless. So maybe it won't be as simple as matching exactly what Paul did as far as volume buildup, be stretched out enough to throw 5 to 6 innings, get that pitch count in the 70s and 80s, and do it a couple of times. That way, you can go a little bit further once you get to the game's highest level. But all indications show, yeah, this guy's going to be here soon. And what do you do when he gets here? He's not on the 40-man, so someone's got to get DFA'd. Or someone goes on the 60-day, I guess. But they're going to have to create a 40-man roster spot for him. And then they're going to have to make room for him on the active roster. The easy solution, I think, is Carmen Mlodzinski going from the rotation to the bullpen. I think that makes all the sense in the world. I think if you look at how Carmen has thrown the ball this year, he's been really good, and this isn't anything new, obviously. He's been really good against the first time through the order, and then he struggled to get outs once he faces a lineup for a second time through. So move him back, or if you really want to commit to him figuring it out as a starter, then you can option him, I guess, and send him down to continue working as a starter in AAA. But I think Carmen's spot is the obvious answer for Bubba. I believe they're both lined up to pitch on the same day right now, so I don't know if that was a coincidence or not, but the logistics kind of line up there. But I personally think Carmen moving to the bullpen is what's best for this team, both short-term and long-term, because if you need a spot start, if there's a rain delay, or if you have to do a doubleheader, or if You just need someone to cover a lot of innings. I mean, you have a guy who's stretched out enough to pitch 5 innings of relief if need be. And he's a really effective reliever. He makes the bullpen better. You basically keep that 6th starter if you need one. Yeah, and I just think that that's the answer, and you can allow him to continue working a little bit on keeping that volume. I don't know if he'll be stretched out enough as a full-time reliever to continue going 5 if you need him. I don't know why you would ever need a reliever to go 5 unless if it's like one of the situations I just detailed. But it's a good thing to have, and if you can still keep him stretched enough to go 3 ups, that's huge because he's still effective in that time frame. So that's my take on it. I think there are 2 guys right now who aren't necessarily throwing the ball great in the starting rotation. The other's Bailey Falter. Bailey's been hot and cold. I think you got to give him a little bit more runway than Carmen. 1, because he's proven that he can do it at this level. And 2, after Bubba, I don't know if there's a clear upgrade for the rotation as of right now. Now, down the line, if Harrington and Ashcraft, Burrows, if these guys really get moving and get into a groove, we can have that conversation. Eventually, Jared Jones is going to get back. I wouldn't be shocked if we got an update this week that he takes a step closer to starting to throw again. That's where we are on this timeline, I believe. He's close to having that doctor's appointment to see if he can start a throwing program again, or at least start rehabbing back. So someone's going to have to leave the rotation for him eventually too. And so I think Carmen is first in line to get a demotion once Chandler arrives, but once Jones works his way back, once these other guys in AAA, if they can keep throwing the ball well, I think there might be more changes in this rotation, which is ironic because the rotation as a whole has been solid. It hasn't been the biggest problem for this team, but the idea that it's going to get stronger as the year progresses, that's good news for the Pirates. So we'll look at some other questions here. I appreciate everyone tuning in. If you don't already, please subscribe to the Post-Gazette's YouTube channel at PG Pirates. You can get daily coverage there. We have series previews, series recaps. I do my mailbag every Thursday. Jason Mackey does some videos. We get some cool interviews on there. And we want to do a little bit more. Just still trying to build it up right now. We're really happy with how it's looked in the infancy of this channel, but we've got a lot more plans for it moving forward. So subscribe to that if you don't already. So George asks, I like this one. What level do you think Konner Griffin ends up at this year? That's an intriguing question. Because I don't think they're like trying to move him immediately, but I don't know how much more time this guy's got in low A. He's just clearly that talented. I said this throughout spring. When they drafted Konner, I mean, the raw athleticism obviously was the selling point. But I thought he'd be a little bit more of a project than what he looks to be on the offensive end. I thought that this guy was going to need 3, 4, 5 years of minor league development. That would still get him to the big leagues at like 23 years old. I don't know if it's going to take that long. I think it's not out of the question for this guy to be a big leaguer at age 21, maybe before that. I don't know. I mean, again, we've only seen a little bit of him in the minor leagues, like less than a full month actually, but defensively already looks like he could be a big league outfielder defensively. Base running, same thing. I mean, the guy's got a speed tool that is really, really impressive. He's got the physical size right now too. He doesn't look like an 18-year-old. It's just getting that bat ready, and the results have been good. I think he hit 3 doubles this past week in spring or in Bradenton. It might even be better. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I need to check them. And you'll have a full actual report on that after this stream ends, because I'm going to write our weekly farm report as soon as the stream's over. So keep an eye out for that at post-gazette.com. But yeah, Griffin, I mean, he's coming along well. I think this is a guy where, like I said originally, when they made the pick, it's like, well, how much of an impact will he have in the Skenes, Jones, Keller, window era. And I mean, I still think he's probably going to get there toward like the back nine of it. But I think there's a really good chance we see Konner Griffin as like an everyday player for multiple seasons with that trio in your rotation, or some like the Skenes era. I don't know if what happens with Keller or Jones or whoever else, but yeah, I think that he's progressing really well. So to answer your question, I'll say I'll be aggressive. I think he will reach as high as AA this year. I think he'll be in Greensboro by midsummer, and if he plays well there, maybe they get him like 1 or 2 games in Curveland before the minor league season ends. So I'll be ambitious, and I'll say, to answer your question, George, what level do you think Konner Griffin ends up at by the end of this year? I'll say AA, which is crazy. So yeah, everyone can leave their comments below. There's obviously a lot to talk about. Gonna stay live here for probably like another 5 to 10 minutes, unless something gets popping here. Appreciate everyone tuning in. If you don't already, get yourself a digital subscription to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Highly recommend it. You can read my work, obviously, but a lot more there than just baseball coverage. Our NFL draft coverage, I thought, was far and away the best in the city. I mean, we broke, I believe, like half the picks, at least, including the first 2 the Steelers made. You got Chris Carter's analysis, and of course, Jerry Dulac, Ray Fittipaldo, Brian Bacco. Penguins wrapping up, but we've got great coverage on that beat. College sports, high school sports as well. And, the newspaper writes a lot more about than just sports too. So you can read about the news coverage we have there as well. It's a great deal. Highly recommend it. Get yourself a digital subscription for the Post-Gazette if you haven't already. Another topic we can get into is, let's talk about the lineup a little bit here. Can the lineup remain hot? So things have been different. I'm not going to, say that this lineup has looked like the 27 Yankees, because it hasn't. But I was looking at some numbers this morning. Since April 14th, that was the day O'Neill Cruz moved to the top of the order. So since April 14th, how does the Pirates offense rank? Well, it ranks second in Major League Baseball in batting average. Since April 14th, it's hitting .273. It's 5th in Major League Baseball in on-base percentage with a .342 average. 13th in slugging. It has a 108 weighted runs created plus, which is 11th best in Major League Baseball, 6th in the National League. And then it's kind of in the middle of the pack with the rest. I mean, 11th in WAR, that's F-WAR, 19th in walk percentage, 13th or tied for 11th in home runs with 13, and 17th in Major League Baseball with 52 runs scored. So I think that that's kind of like the mile marker that we're going to have to view this offense, because with how Cruz is performing, it's clear that he's generated not only more from himself, but he's got other bats going as well. I mean, Reynolds is hitting the ball better. McCutchen's hitting the ball better. Valdez, Bart, IKF has continued to be consistent. Adam Frazier's like on like an 11-game hit streak right now. So the rest of the offense is kind of following O'Neill's lead, and that's really what you need from this offense. Like the scouting report for this team is pretty clear. If this lineup can just be average, and then you get O'Neill to play like O'Neill's been playing, they're going to have a chance to win a lot of games. Simply because O'Neill is playing right now, since they moved him into the leadoff spot, like one of the best offensive weapons in Major League Baseball. That's not me overreacting when you look at what he's been able to do offensively, from a power standpoint, from a base running standpoint, from a run creating, like driving runs in standpoint. He's walking more. He's just someone that no pitching staff has really had an answer for, and they've seen 4 different looks. They've played 4 series now with him at the top of the order against the Nationals, the Guardians, the Angels, and the Dodgers, and they've ran into some really talented arms throughout that stretch, including Yamamoto, who was, at the time of that last outing, was probably the hottest arm in Major League Baseball, and he still did his thing. He's been that good. So looking at it moving forward, I think that, they're not going to be like what the Cubs are. I'm looking at the Cubs numbers right now, and they're like top 5 in baseball in like almost every offensive category. The Pirates just aren't going to be that this year. But if they can keep playing this way, where they just kind of let Cruz lead the charge, obviously he's going to cool down some, but if he can play at this pace where he can be a 30-30 guy, I think that that's well within reason to expect him to do that this year now with 12 steals already and 8 home runs, and we're not even through April yet. He's well on pace to eclipse that. And if Cruz can be a 30-30, maybe a 40-40 guy, and just the rest of the team can be average offensively, guys can have their ups and downs, but you hold it together and kind of let him lead the charge, they should be able to score enough to win games with this pitching staff, especially once Jones returns, especially once Chandler's here, especially once this bullpen really, figures itself out. It looked like we had that happen already, and then some things occurred, which we can talk about in this last part of the live stream, where it got a little bit more iffy. But right now, I think that despite the 11 and 18 record, this team's probably playing the best baseball it's had all year. It's just got to really put it together. Whereas before, it just looked incredibly incomplete. There was no real logic behind the idea of, I see how this team can win games based off of how it's playing on a day-to-day basis. That wasn't a thing that could logically be said in early April because they just weren't scoring runs and they weren't playing good enough defense. But right now, I think the offense and defensive elements of their game have improved to pair with their pitching to where if it goes, still a lot needs to go right, but there is a path for this team, I think, to be better than, 7 games under 500. It's just got to happen soon because they've got some really tough competition coming up. They've got 6 games coming up against the Cubs and Padres. They go to St. Louis for a little bit. That should be a little easier. But then the Braves come into the town. Then you go to the Mets, Phillies. I mean, this is a challenging 3-week stretch they have ahead. And they're going to be needing to play their best version of baseball. So that's one thing we can talk about. We talked about Bubba. Another topic real quick that I thought we could cover is Spencer Horwitz began his rehab assignment. That was yesterday. That was Sunday. And for AA Altoona, I think they said on the pregame broadcast that he's going to be in Altoona for at least a week. I wouldn't expect him to play every day. I think he'll probably get a day off here and there. But this is something to monitor because, like I just highlighted, the Pirates right now have like 5 or 6 guys that you can rely on to do something offensively right now. And getting more players like that back is a good thing. And we don't really know what Horwitz is, right? Because he didn't play at all this spring. But, I mean, getting him in this lineup, I think just gives you more depth. And it allows you to get a little bit more creative with how you position guys on the right side of the infield, which I think creates one big question is where exactly does Horwitz fit, both in the lineup and in the field? Because Valdez right now is hitting the ball well. He's established himself, I think, as a reliable cleanup hitter. He's got some pop in his bat. I know defensively he's not amazing at first base, but I think he's fitting well there in the number 4 spot between potentially like Bart and McCutchen at 3 and 5, or Hayes, depending on who they have batting or catching that day. But I really like how Valdez is barreling the ball. I don't know what you do with him, like as far as Horwitz is concerned, because Horwitz, you got to play every day at first base. You traded a 3-WAR pitcher to get him to be your everyday first baseman. So what do you do with Valdez? Do you move him to second and bench Frazier? I mean, Frazier hasn't been absolutely killing it right now, but I would argue he's probably been one of their best defenders, and he's on an 11-game hit streak. Do you try to get Valdez at bats? I don't know where. Maybe make him the DH, have Reynolds move to left and Kutch to right field. That's an interesting outfield as far as defense is concerned, but if you're trying to get it bats in the order, maybe you consider doing that. Who knows? And then the other part of this is where do you bat Horwitz in the lineup when he comes up? I think that I think the plan was for this guy to be the leadoff hitter. But you can't do that now. You can't. Like, O'Neal Cruz has to be your leadoff hitter. You can bat Spencer leadoff in the rare day where O'Neal's not in the lineup, but I just don't think that'd be a good idea. So where do you bat him? I think personally you bat him 8th ahead of IKF. That way he's a OBP guy. You get on base for him. IKF can potentially keep it going as far as being a solid batting average guy. And now you have 2 guys on for O'Neal Cruz at the top of the order, and you can use his bat as a run producer. So that's how I view it. Definitely a good problem for the Pirates to have, because not long ago, we were trying to figure out who in the world could even hit on this team. And now they might have a situation with Horwitz coming back sometime, I would assume, in May, where you're trying to find a way to get the most bats possible in the lineup every day, the most productive bats possible. But I'm sure by then, someone will cool down. Something will make this a little bit more of an obvious answer. But if not, I mean, that's like I said, that's a good problem for the Pirates to have. So Spencer Horwitz, another guy to keep an eye on. A lot going on right now with the Pirates in the minor leagues as far as guys coming up and having an impact. You've got, like I said, like we started the show with, I think Chandler will be up here sometime, possibly this month. And same could be said for Horwitz. And both of those guys make this team better. Let's talk about the bullpen real quick before we wrap it up here. Obviously, Saturday was an interesting evening with Holderman coming in to pitch the 8th. How do they use Colin Holderman moving forward? I think his status on the team right now is he's the 3rd right-handed leverage arm. Like, if there's a hierarchy, it's probably Santana 1, Bednar 2, now that Lawrence is on the IL, and Holderman 3. I think that makes sense. And they ran into a situation where they didn't have number 1, and I still don't know why I didn't throw Bednar in that spot, but I know that's in the past, I guess. So, but do you keep him at the number 3? Like, I don't think Nicholas has shown anything to deserve any more of an opportunity than Holderman right now, right? Like, Nicholas looked good last season, but hasn't looked good so far in 2025. And if we're going off of last season, I think Holderman was a lot better than Nicholas last year. So if that's your measuring stick, I don't think Chase Shugart is taking a leverage opportunity from either of those guys. I think the answer, if you really want a 3rd reliable leverage arm for a 3rd reliable right-handed leverage arm for your bullpen, the answer is Carmen Mlodzinski. And maybe they'll have that soon. But I think that, I don't know if you need to have Holderman up here right now. I think maybe it would be best to option him. He does have options, and kind of give him a similar thing to what they did with Bednar. That's an unpopular choice, but maybe that's what's needed. Or if you're not going to do that, you got to treat him essentially like you treat Shugart right now or Nicholas, where you're seeing those guys probably pitch in lower leverage spots. He got that opportunity yesterday in the blowout. That's probably how you need to utilize him. And if you're going to do that means you need to be very strategic with how you use your high leverage guys, both righties and lefties. And sometimes you might have to go with unfavorable splits. You might have to throw a Ryan Baracki or Caleb Ferguson in a spot where they're facing 2-3 righties in a row. That's not what they want. That's not, I think, how this pen was designed to be utilized. But with Holderman right now, if you want to get him back to where he used to be, I don't know if continually trotting him out there in high leverage spots, tie game, bottom of the 8th inning, I don't know if that's going to get him back. I think right now, to steal a cliche from another sport, he's kind of just got to see one go through the hoop. So I think we'll wrap it up there. It's a good stream. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Subscribe to this channel if you don't already, at PG Pirates. I'm Noah Hiles. We'll have you covered for this upcoming series on the North Shore. Cubs coming into town Really good offense. I'll have a preview for that series on this channel later this week. Or not later this week, tomorrow, I should say. And we will be in town to cover it all. You can read everything at post-gazette.com. Get yourself a digital subscription if you don't have one already, and keep tuning in for our Pirates coverage.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.